Hello, everybody. Hope you're back from the breakout, from the networking session. We're starting soon with our next activity, which is multi-stakeholder models in the era of massive participation, which is going to be a conversation between David Aragort and Nicolás Fiumarelli, and moderated by me. So I'm just going to give 2 or 3 minutes before we start again. En français, maintenant, on va recommencer avec les sessions Multi-Stakeholder Models in the Era of Massive Participation, qui a été organisée pour David Aragort et Nicolás Fiumarelli. Et moi, je serai la modératrice. On va commencer dans 2 ou 3 minutes. Okay, so we're starting now with the next session. Do you prefer to share the screen yourselves, or do you want me to do it?
I think, David, you can share the screen.
Sure.
All right, perfect. So guys, everybody, welcome to our next session. We have here Nicolás Fiumarelli and David Aragort. They're going to be talking about multi-stakeholder models in the era of massive participation. So go ahead and good luck.
I believe my computer has some issue with the screen share function. I don't know if you, Nicolás, or Juliana can share the slides, please.
Yeah, sure. Give me a second.
Oh, actually, I can share if you want.
Right.
Let me just
Yeah.
check. Let me know if you can see the screen.
Yeah.
Perfect. So it's an honor for me to be part of this session. We were from the LAC region, and a lot of things are happening right now, and the pandemic and all the things. So very happy with this session we have here at the Youth LAC ICF, and it's really an honor. So we will start talking about the multi-stakeholder models in the era of massive participation. And my name is Nicolás Fiumarelli. I am from Uruguay, and I work at LACNIC, that is one of the 5 regional registries, but also I have my own organization that is Youth ICF Uruguay, that the idea is to a similar organization like the Youth LAC ICF, but for Uruguay. Well, at this talk, we will cover the multi-stakeholder models in the era of massive participation. This was like an initial idea that some of the youth had in the last group of ambassadors for the ICF. And there was, we will cover 10 minutes talking about some multi-stakeholder model concepts to be just in context. And then we will spend around 20 minutes talking about some practical examples for this concept, like the NETMundial or the high-level panel on the digital cooperation. These are one of the examples we will cover. And at the end, we will try to do our efforts to maintain a collaborative session with all of you, gathering your opinions and ideas about a solution we are looking for that is a platform for doing multi-stakeholderism that could be beneficiated from the current experience of these models and how this is going to change in our future. So this is the idea. I am giving the floor to David to start with some concepts about the multi-stakeholder model.
Thank you, Nicolás. We will start making some difference about the 2 main models that we use to governance Can we rewind one slide, please? Thank you. And the first model is the multilateral model that is used by governments to gather in forums and organizations such as the Organization of American States, but also the United Nations, for example. But this approach is not enough when we are talking about internet governance, because there are a lot of more actors that should be taken into account and be part of the decision-making process. For example, the technical community that is behind all the technology, the protocols, and the stuff that is behind the stage, for say so, on the internet and the technology. The academia, not just only because the academia and the universities develop some researches that help us to improve the internet and the new technologies, but also because the internet right now in the modern world is one of the pillars of education that help us to bring the education to places and people that have been exploited historically. Also, the private sector, not only because we have to contract the internet from an internet service provider, but also because we will not be able to be here gathered today if there wasn't a company that develops a platform where we can have this video call. Also, civil society that acts like a watchdog for human rights in this ecosystem and kind of balance the game and protects the rights of the people. And the users that may be part or not of one or more of the groups that we have mentioned already. And all of these actors makes part of the multi-stakeholder, not only the decision process, but also the process from the grassroots and the beginning. We can go to the next slide, please. And there is a set of principles that we should follow if we are applying some multi-stakeholder model. For example, the open standards, so everyone is on the same page, and it's like the set of rules that we all agree to follow and that help us to make the process of decision making and all the processes more effective and easier. The open access, because the barriers and obstacles to be part of this conversation, of these processes, should be the minimum possible. But also transparency, that is not only applied to the outcomes, the results, but also at every stage of the decision-making processes. Collaboration, because each of the actors, each of the stakeholder groups has something to add. And the sum, when we add all of what actors are doing, we have a better result than if only one actor centralize all the control on these processes. The bottom up, I believe it is one of the most important parts of this, because it's where grassroots organizations and people start conversation that is growing up in every level till we get to the top decision-making actors and spaces. And also this should be decentralized, because a difference of the multilateral is that model ends being controlled by an organization, a government, or a group of governments. The multi-stakeholder is different, is think to everyone has the same rights and the same power and the decision-making processes that any of the other actors or stakeholders.
Well, and very nice introduction to the concepts. Now we will ground a little into some practical examples of this process of the multi-stakeholder process. For example, maybe you know about the Internet Engineering Task Force, the IETF, that is like the organization that has like the power or the strength of all the engineers that have worked on internet protocols in the past and nowadays. And there are 2 or 3 meetings per year for the IETF, when all the technicians, but also the lawyers are met and discuss about the new generation of protocols for the internet. For example, right now, the Internet of Things is something that is very being discussed. So the security of the Internet of Things relating to software updating of the devices and a lot of things is being made at this organization that is totally open, and it aims for these ideas. So the multi-stakeholder model is very clear here at the IETF, and also in the Internet Society, put the same in the same slide because of the objectives are very similar. So we have the Internet standards and protocols made by the IETF by an open and participative methodologies, like separated in different working groups. You could find that all the majority of the conversation happen at the mailing list. So at the meetings, at the physical meetings in the IETF, there is something that happened that is people are discussing these things that are also discussed on the mailing list that are public. And at the end, they have like a way of that they call the hum, that is this sound that people need to do at the place of the meeting in this working group when they are deciding for some area or some topic. They are deciding something, and they use this sound, and in them, if this sound is enough in the room, enough strong in the room to declare this as a working group outcome, for example, they are approving this. So it depends on the stakeholders there. It depends on a lot of things, and the discussion in the mailing list that is totally open. And at the end, you have this methodology in working groups that fits good with the multi-stakeholder model. At Internet Society, this is very similar because they have a lot of service and things, and at the meetings they are very open also to all the people. So this public sense or this transparency is one of the most important things in the multi-stakeholder scenarios. Do you have something to add?
Yeah, I believe that it is important to highlight that Internet Society has also chapters, regional chapters and special interest groups that like talk about a specific issue that is happening in some communities, or shared issues that are helping some community. And so also, as we've seen before, this is a bottom-up process where the chapters are like the base and the foundation of the Internet Society, and the upper conversations and discussions came from here.
Exactly, that is a very good example, like from the local chapters to the regional chapters, and all the thing with the special interest groups that ISOC has, that is like a per topic based thing that came to the local action to go there and have some global impact. So that is a very good example. So here I am giving the floor to you to speak about the ICANN multi-stakeholder processes.
Yeah, so ICANN is a multi-stakeholder group and not-profit organization responsible for coordinating the maintenance and procedures of several databases related to the namespaces and numerical spaces of the internet, ensuring the network's stable and secure operation. And probably if you are not so familiar with these terms, what are those numbers? Well, that could be like the IP addresses, version 4 and 6, but also the root servers of the domain name system servers that translate basically the domain we already know, for example, ICANN.org, to the IP address where the server that stored that website is. So ICANN was given a mandate requiring that it operates in a bottom-up, consensus-driven, and democratic manner. And the way it does comply with it is through the public meetings of ICANN. So the ICANN meetings have been central to ICANN's multi-stakeholder model since its formation in 1998. And they provide a venue for learning about ICANN, advancing in policy work, conducting outreach, exchanging best practices and conducting business deals and interacting with the members of the ICANN community board and its organization. And it is multi-stakeholder not only because it brings together the public sector, the governments, the private sector, civil society, and others, but also because it has like 3 stages where the discussions and the issues are being discussed. So there is the community forum, like where it is like the base discussion where grassroots organizations and people from around the world can get to meet and start that discussion. Later, that discussion goes to the policy forum, and after that, for the last, we have the annual general meeting that take place and where the decision-making process comes to an end. I mean, like the big decisions that came from the community forum and were discussed also in the policy forum finally get approved or denied in the annual general meeting. I don't know if Nicolás want to add something to his.
Yes, I will add something, but in the next slide is where here are the regional registries that are also part of ICANN, as it says, because of the organizational scheme of these things. ICANN manages the DNS and the IP addresses, and also some configuration of protocols for the protocols made by the IETF. But then we have these processes, as David mentioned, and also the regional registries has their own policy forums. They have these bottom-up decision-making processes for the rules of the IP addresses and the autonomous systems. For example, when ICANN is talking about DNS abuse, and for example, the internationalized domain names for having Arabic and Chinese characters, well, in the regional registries, they discuss about IP address things. For example, if you want to request IPv4, that is one of these protocols, the one that give you one address for one unique address for communicating in the internet. When the internet services providers request for IPv4, for example, right now, because of a policy there, they need to request an IPv6 block. So that is the new version of IPv6, and is desired for a lot of things. So at the end, these regulatory things are changing through the time via this public policy forum. And one thing to note related to what David said about ICANN is that there is a policy development processes at each of the 5 regional registries. And if all the 5 regional registries are discussing about the same thing, this thing will convert to a global policy. And then this specific thing could be also addressed at ICANN sphere. That is something that is also very important, because this bottom-up process is not ending in one issue. You need to go to the full structure. And the regional registry are also, all these rules and all these policies are made at these public policy forums also, and they are totally composed of the community, right? It's not only like the full internet services providers groups, but the full community could participate in these processes. That is why this is also a multi-stakeholder example. Then I will give you the floor again to David.
Yeah, so the high-level panel on digital cooperation was convened by the United Nations Secretary General in July of 2018 to advance proposals to strengthen cooperation in the digital space among governments, the private sector, civil society, international organizations, academia, the technical community, and other relevant stakeholders. So you can see that here we have a fully multi-stakeholder approach on this high-level panel on digital cooperation. And one of the outcomes that this high-level panel on digital cooperation had was a roadmap the Secretary General's Roadmap for Digital Cooperation, which is the result of a multi-year, multi-stakeholder global effort to address a range of issues related to the internet, artificial intelligence, and other digital technologies. Basically, they gather a lot of people from different sectors and put it into roundtables to discuss some of the issues that are presented to us in the new digital era that we're living for. And that was used to, let's say, have as outcomes action-oriented roadmap that was presented by the Secretary General with recommendations for concrete actions by diverse stakeholders that will enhance global digital cooperation in some areas, for example, achieving universal connectivity by 2030, and promoting digital public goods to unlock a more equitable world, ensuring digital inclusion for all, including the most vulnerable, strengthening digital capacity building, ensuring the protection of human rights in the digital era, supporting global cooperation on artificial intelligence that is trustworthy, human rights-based, safe and sustainable, and promotes peace, of course, and promoting digital trust and security, and lastly, building a more effective architecture for digital cooperation. And all of that was managed, as you can see in your screens, through a platform owned by the IETF, where the different stakeholder groups could have more information and participate in the process of building and making recommendations for the outcomes of that high-level panel on digital cooperation. I don't know if you, Nicolás, want to add something to this.
Oh, exactly. That is very nice presentation from your part. Also, as in the screen you can see how this platform that was inside the ICF, it is called the review platform. This is when they were doing this high-level panel on digital cooperation, they tried to share and spread the word of this collaboration with all stakeholders. And one of them was the ICF community. So they imported all the basic paragraphs they have had in the initial roundtables to this platform, where you could see a list of paragraphs, and then every person in the world could register at the ICF platform for sure, and then could write their comments directly to the paragraph that they are concerned, for example. So there were different topics, like you can see there, like human rights and human agency, trust and social cohesion. So when you find the topic that you are very concerned or have some challenges or solutions to present, you can comment on the paragraphs, and this was like input for the final document they elaborated. At that stage, there were a lot of persons very well known, like Raúl Echeverría from ISO and now from ALAI, and the ICF community, the ICF secretariat, high-level members that were doing this drafting process at the end. It was like a process, and they ended with this collaborative document that you could find if you take a Google and put a digital high-level panel on the digital cooperation. So this is very important because this idea of platforms is what we are looking for this talk. So this is one example that uses a platform for helping the multi-stakeholder process. At the end, all the comments and the paragraphs are categorized by stakeholder, by country. Maybe if there is an additional category, they could have it in the system. So at the end, this idea of platforms could be very helpful. But what happened then with the drafting process, right? At this case, this was manually. And imagining a scenario with massive participation, that is what we are looking for after the pandemic. We need not only the physical meetings, not only the virtual meetings, but hybrid meetings. So at the end, maybe in the future, in the near future, we will have different hubs at places when the meeting will be happening physically, maybe some marginalized communities also will be included with some temporal internet connection there, and the virtual space also will be very active, because we know that is the future of the meetings because of the pandemic, the virtual things. So these hybrid things and all, and I will change the slide to talk also about this idea, right? The virtual and the hybrid meetings that we are, I think we left one behind, that is very short about NETMundial. Was a meeting that happened in 2014. It was a meeting about also to trying to define what are the principles of the internet governance, what kind of principles, what is the way that the internet governance will evolve. This was made, as you can see on the screen, this was also a participatory process that involves thousands of people from all the sectors around the world, and elaborated this non-binding outcome about a lot of different topics and like the principles for the internet governance, what scenario of internet governance we would like to in the case of human rights, in the case of security, and all the human rights in the declaration, also with the sustainable development goals. Well, a lot of things, but they elaborated this thing, and they have also this platform, like the NETMundial platform, where people also could do comments per paragraphs, and they do a drafting process also. That was very, very huge process also. But another, once again, it was like a manual thing, right? This tool that they were using has some filter keys and searching thing, so you could help a little for the manual part of the drafting. One thing that is very important is that in the multi-stakeholder processes, in contrary of the democracies, for example, I have maybe it's my personal opinion, but it's the way I understand the multi-stakeholder model. The democracy is like where to take decisions, you need to have the 50 plus 1 person to define this for the citizenship, no, of a country, for example. When you are deciding things, this democracy work like this in a majority. But the multi-stakeholder model, every voice counts. If you have a faraway person that lives in rural scenario, and they have their voice, they have some solutions or at least challenges for the situation or ideas, they could propose things in these collaborative documents and processes. And if there is no objection with this, the multi-stakeholder model secure this comment. So the comment will go through all the bottom-up layers and reach to the consensus part if no objections at all. If you have one paragraph and you have a comment that is opposing this paragraph, this generates a discussion. And then if the discussion has no resolution for that conflict, this statement is not reaching the final outcome. That is in majority how the multi-stakeholder works different from democracies, right? So every person who raise their voice, and if they have a good idea that everyone accepts or have no objections, this thing will succeed. So with all these ideas and platform we've seen, we will mention a last thing, that is the working group on the hybrid meetings in the Internet Governance Forum. It's a recently new working group where they were figuring out how to do the switch to hybrid meetings instead of virtual. So a lot of things were concluded from this working group that is currently working on a lot of things for the preparatory phase for the IGF this year. I don't know if all you are aware, but this year in Katowice, in Poland, will be held the Internet Governance Forum, the global forum, and this will be held in a hybrid format. So they will have, they are looking for an effective moderation of the meeting, this idea of meaningful inclusion of online and on-site participants, with the idea of hubs and they are also thinking about providing some helping in case of internet connection, how to design this hybrid session, because you will need people that is on site need to be comfortable, and people that is online also need to be comfortable. So maybe you need some screens, you need a different design for these sessions. Also the round tables, if you are one thing that in the past, for example, was very problematic, there is no solution right now for that, but they are looking for new ways, is the mic queuing, right? When you have a conference, we all have a conference via Zoom all the time. In a 1 hour and a half or 2 hours meeting, there is no space for millions of people to talk, or at least thousands of people. So you have the mic queuing, and it's very slow, you know, maybe 10 person talked and was 700 people at the call. So at the end, that is not multi-stakeholder. But with all the documents and the intersectional work and all the things, they have a sense of multi-stakeholderism. But looking into the future, we need to do a lot of things. So another thing they mentioned was to avoid thematic overlaps. In sessions that are being simultaneously, they avoid thematic overlaps, or for example, the issue-driven approach is an interesting one. Different type of sessions that emerge from these hybrid meetings. Well, the idea of the time zone challenges, this is something that is very new to the discussion, that yes, because of our world is like similar to us and a sphere, we have different time zones. So at the end, you cannot have all the stakeholders from parts of the world at the same time in a meeting discussing something. So you will need documents, platforms, something, or more time for these sessions, at least to have these outputs well-oriented, right? So if you want to add, David, to this idea of the hybrid and looking into the future.
Yeah, no, I want to take what you said before about making every voice heard and take it into account through this decision process. And these hybrid formats allows us to make people that was historically excluded from these decision-making processes to be part of it, you know, because as you were saying, for example, if we have an indigenous community that cannot travel to Poland to be part to take part physically in the Internet Governance Forum, we can have like someone who brings the internet to that community and help us to give them voice and to make them part of the process of decision making and make the voice heard. As you were saying before, to the multi-stakeholder is very different from the a simple democracy process works, because in democracy, our democracy is imperfect, and they have we can fall into the mayor and the dictatorship of mayor of most people, you know, when 50% of the people plus one takes a decision, then maybe they are not taking into account the minorities. And the multi-stakeholder approach is very different, because everyone makes part of the process and make their voice heard. And I think that's something that we should highlight, because it's the value of this thing. Yeah, it is harder to put in practice, but it is better in the long term.
Exactly, totally. So in order to have some conclusions here, and then please don't go, we will change for the collaboration part at the end. These conclusions from all the processes and all the things we presented are like massive voices are needed. Right now, the participation at these meetings are not enough to include the most disadvantaged ones. So at the end, we need massive voices, gender balance, and stakeholder balance also. And then, well, the issue of the time zones. So we need to work out of the meeting. We need to work on collaborative documents and platforms. So platforms are the way, and then take into account the intersectional work. This is something that not every meeting needs to begin from scratch, but having all these documents from the local to the regional to the global level is totally important, because that is the really way to do this bottom up. So now we have like two things that we want to discuss with the audience here. We have some participants at the call. The idea is to switch to this Google Doc. We will share in the chat soon, and we will talk about, well, a collaborative idea for this platform on one stage, and then we will talk about how to solve the drafting process, right? This bottom-up process. Imagine that you will have like a big data problem there, when all the comments from, I don't know, thousands of people, and how will be these processes of doing the drafting, right? And there is some ideas there, like, for example, use an artificial intelligence thing, or how to have this transparency of the whole process. So, David, you shared in the chat there the Google Doc.
Yeah, I believe we could also share the screen. Yeah, right.
I will do that.
The idea is that, well, not just, the idea is not that we, Nicolás and I, fill the document with our ideas, but makes you part of these processes, know what are your thoughts, what ways and tools you think that we can be implemented in a platform like this to make the process easier and more efficient to take.
I have a question regarding the Google Docs. Are we supposed to write in categories? Are we writing our stakeholder or country topic? This is like who I am representing as a stakeholder, is that it?
I will present a little about this. Well, at the first hand, we have the highlighting thing here. That is, we are looking for a platform that initially could be like a nested comment one, as we presented, like the NETMundial and the high-level panel on digital cooperation. Then we need to define like categories for the people that will be doing comments, for example, the document or at the platform, in order to think how this could use later this information for categorizing the comments, in order to understand the thing, right? For example, here we have some examples down for the possibilities, taking into account that configuration, like the categories. So we have one example could be if we could measure or note which stakeholder is from when this person is doing their comment, then we could do a thing like could be filtering what are all the opinions for all the topics for government stakeholders per country, for example, grouping per country. So at the end, as we kept the stakeholder and we kept the country of this person, at the end we could filter and trying to, in order to do this drafting process, right? For example, we choose a topic that could be cybersecurity, and if we ask organization, no, I could add here a category, organization, then I could have a sense, for example, what is the ICANN posture or ICANN staff posture on cybersecurity, for example. And then I could gather all the comments from the ICANN guys talking about cybersecurity topic. So that is the idea. We wanted to do this very open. So maybe someone could have a bright idea about a category or about how to change how the web interface need to look like. And here are the examples of NETMundial. and well, the other part is for talking about the massive drafting process. So if anyone wants to raise your hand and talk and propose something, or you could directly write it into the document also.
Yeah, the idea here is that you can put your opinion here and your thoughts, and how can we make this process easier and more efficient. As Nicolás was saying before, it is a lot more easier if we have the information about how different stakeholder groups are thinking about some proposal, that to ask them manually, as we will do if we hadn't this platform. So how can we make easier this work of drafting process and decision-making process in internet governance?
Okay, should we write our contributions to the document, or should we speak? Well, or either.
As you wish, I think.
Okay, so I'm going to write.
Well, one thing I just see, and maybe it's would add value on that, is that at the high-level panel digital cooperation in the IGF review platform, you have like the like function there, the like feature. That could have some sense of the consensus of some comments, but also this could be lead to misuse, no?
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to have a space for like comments, but not only comments, also that you could rate the comments that have more likes, so you could see the comments that add more impact on the discussion. So you wouldn't have to read everything in order to understand what people are talking about. Also, that everybody that has made a comment, it shows not only the person's name, but also the person's sector, so you can see where that person is speaking on behalf of. Like, what else? I think it would be nice to have some sort of dashboard in the platform as well, in which we could see, for example, how many ideas were put, how many people participated in every discussion. So, and also gender, region, all of it, so we could see a little bit of the demographics. Yeah, those were some of the things that I was thinking about.
That is very nice. I think the region is very important. Maybe a subtopic also. Yes, also the date, right? Because if you want to know what the comments of net neutrality are in 2020 compared to 2017, maybe you could find there something that was like emerging. I don't know. I imagine like the zero rating programs. These emerged in the past, but maybe before they are not talking about that. but now, yes, that could be an example of trying to figure out by date how the discussion has switched in time.
This is very good, because then it would allow also researchers to make those analyses of how people's perspectives on a certain topic has changed or anything. We could also have a page for data on the IGF forum, so how many people participated this year, how many people participated last year. They have this information in the IGF websites now, I think, but it's not that easy to find. So it would be interesting to have this. Well, it could be part of the dashboard part, but just not only a dashboard on the discussions in the platform itself, but also in the participation at the IGF and ICANN and, well, all the other internet governance bodies that we know.
Yes, I imagine also, for example, having the public policies in countries, for example, proposal of policies and the evolution of this proposal, right? What are the comments related with this policy? What are the ones that agree, the ones that disagree, why they disagree? And maybe we connect concepts there, and maybe we discover that 3 policies in Africa are very related, but they are not doing efforts together. So these things could lead to to discoveries that could help the way of ratifying these public policies, no? The accelerating the issue with the government. Maybe you have a public policy idea or proposal with your group, with your region, and then there is the government maybe attends the document and, wow, takes a look and say, wow, these policies are being proposed and I have no idea, and it's my country, something like that. So maybe you, by categorizing also policies or current laws, no? Current laws of countries related to topics or paragraphs, I think that also could lead discoveries.
Yeah, that's very good, yeah. Do you know, like, do you have any idea, like, how much it would cost to deploy this kind of platform?
Well, I am software developer, but we had this idea in the past. I have some colleagues that also are very interested in developing this as an open source project. So could be a project for the community. If we could organize ourselves and trying to figure out how the platform need to work, maybe we could get more help to do this. But here the idea is, yes, to gather your ideas and trying to put this like in the better way. Maybe.
No, this is great, yeah.
Yes, maybe taking into account that we have 10 minutes for our session, we could switch to this other part that is, we want to know from you what are your ideas for the process, for this drafting part. So we separated like artificial intelligence ideas, because we think that if massive participation will be happening at these platforms, we need the manual labor is impossible. We need to look for ways that artificial intelligence maybe could help to identify. I think that these are some comments here, identifying similar sentences that can be grouped to compare where they are similar, but also where they are different. The postures, I think. The postures. Maybe you have an actor that states something and the other states the contrary. Maybe this is a thing of language, so the artificial intelligence could recognize.
You
I
mean
would
to
like
map different discourses at the IGF? Is that the idea?
have yes, one idea here is, well, for the manual or whatever, could be like the word counting, but this is the worst one, I think, because could be very biased, no?
Word counting, but in terms of how much people speak in the sessions, or word counting for the discussions themselves. Like, I don't know if I got it.
Yes, like same word counting. Like, for example, a lot of people uses the word internet connection problems, and if you group all the comments from, for example, Africa, and at the result you identify that the maximum that the word that has the maximum counting that appears more in that is shown more in the text or in the comments, maybe that could give you a sense on what the desire or what the problem or challenge this community has. But I think it's a very simple approach, like counting the words. But it will bring some sense of the ideas they have. But yes, if you if someone collect a lot of people in a bad manner, they could like affect this thing.
What could also be done is maybe get the information from the transcriptions of IGF sessions, you know, like how they are always available at the platform, and well, find patterns in the discourse, I guess, in the topics that are mentioned in the questions. Yeah.
About this, using artificial intelligence for languages purposes, for me, it's quite problematic in the way that how an artificial intelligence is going to know the context of the sentence that you were saying. That
Yes, you are right. This problem of the bias thing that maybe is affecting all the artificial intelligence algorithms nowadays. This issue of, yes, the decontextualization, right, of a comment or of a sentence. That is a problem we need to look at.
we know that mostly of the how artificial intelligence learn is because of data and the data that we gave to them. But the data left out a lot of things. And that things actually matters and sometimes when we want to make decisions. So if we're going to, so I think in this case, this kind of tools could give us some idea of what's going on in the discussion that the people has, but can be a decisive tool. Until we learn how to enrich our data and allow our artificial intelligence to understand context and everything else.
No, it's very important your comment because of the of these not the majority of the words will have sense because we are looking at multi-stakeholder model. So every comment is important at the end. So this issue of collecting by the word's repetition or the word counting will lead to have these opinions out of the final outcome. So will be also problematic.
We could also have like gender inequality sort of analysis, like how many women are participating in the discussions, how many men, how many queer people, like, so analyze the diversity of the discussion in a way, and what kind of positions are made by each of this group, and is, I guess, something interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting, not only to find out where there is more inequality or where discussions have more inequality, but also to try to solve that problem, no? To invite maybe experts from female experts or gender diverse people that can add something to that discussion and make it more multi-stakeholder, but also more gender diverse and more inclusive.
Well, we had a lot of very good ideas, so thank you so much, all the audience. And yes, now if anyone wants to say something, if not, that is, thank you so much for all of this, and we hope in the future, in the near future, we will have an open platform or something that could arise from these documents. So thank you so much, and thank you the organizing committee also for the opportunity to be at the Youth Lag ICF this year.
And thank you, Nicolás, for the opportunity,
Guys.
for the invitation.
Thank you so much, Nicolás and David. I think it was quite an interesting presentation, and now I really want this platform to exist. So let's see how that goes. They're very good ideas. So yeah, now we're gonna have a 15 minutes break. So you're all invited to join our networking platform. I'm gonna send a link in the chat again, just in case you haven't seen that already. And after that, at 5:30, we're coming back here for a session by Juan, who's gonna tell us a little bit about AI and gender. Thank you very much, and see you in the networking platform.
Thank you.